Imagine this scenario. You're standing at a critical crossroads in your life. No background. No connections. No mentors. No safety net. You look around and realize that everyone else seems to have something behind them: family, networks, influence, protection. And you have nothing. Nothing except a pair of eyes that haven't been fully domesticated yet, and a quiet, unsettling intuition: if you fall, no one is coming to catch you. The world tells you the same comforting lies: just hold on a little longer. Work harder. Be patient, be kind, and eventually your chance will come. But deep down, something doesn't sit right anymore. You begin to notice that reality does not reward innocence. Rules do not favor those who start with empty hands. The more you follow the rules, the more invisible you become. The more reasonable you are, the easier it is to be ignored. A fracture forms inside you. Maybe the problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough, but that you were never meant to win this game by playing fair. A dangerous question begins to surface: if the world is designed for the strong, then when the weak insist on being good, are they building strength, or simply prolonging their own defeat? You were taught to endure, to wait, to trust the process. Yet what you observe is this: opportunities flow toward those who already have them, trust is exploited by those most skilled at manipulation, and rules exist primarily to restrain the people who still believe in them. That's when Machiavelli's disturbing insight finally makes sense: politics is not about morality, it is about how power actually operates. And then you realize something even more unsettling. This isn't just politics. It's the workplace. It's society. It's your life. If no one supports you, how do you succeed? If kindness cannot protect you, and honesty cannot save you, what are you really left with? When the world pressures you to conform, weaken, and submit, must you become ruthless simply to avoid being crushed? The most brutal question of all is this: are you truly afraid of failure, or are you afraid of admitting that the world owes nothing to your good intentions? Maybe you're not weak at all. Maybe you've just been using the logic of a victim in a game designed for predators. And the most uncomfortable truth is this: the world does not go easy on you because you are alone. It tests you instead, to see whether you are willing to face reality, and pay the price for clarity. If you refuse to wake up, the world will decide for you exactly where you will be sacrificed. And what comes next is not about self-improvement, but a far more dangerous, far more honest question: why does this world systematically punish those who have no support, yet still choose to follow the rules? The real problem isn't bad luck. It isn't a lack of effort. The real problem is this: you were conditioned into a psychological structure that is incompatible with reality. From an early age, you were taught a quiet but powerful belief: if you are good enough, patient enough, agreeable enough, the world will reward you. Carl Jung would call this a persona, a mask shaped to earn acceptance. But here's the truth: this mask was never designed for survival. It was designed for obedience. Nietzsche exposed this long ago. He called it slave morality, when those without power rebrand weakness into virtue, humility, restraint, kindness. They moralize these traits and judge the powerful from a place of resentment. But there's something you were never told: morality may make you feel noble, but it does not help you survive. When you have zero support yet cling desperately to doing things the right way, you are often anesthetizing yourself with ethics, so you don't have to face a harsher truth: you have no power. Schopenhauer understood this clearly. The world is not governed by rational negotiation, but by the clash of wills. Yet modern society trains you to believe that reason alone is enough. So you suppress aggression, ambition, desire, locking them away in the basement of your unconscious. Jung warned us about this: what you repress does not disappear. It returns as fate. That's why you end up in a strange condition, calm, disciplined, and reasonable, on the surface, but inwardly filled with powerlessness, envy, anger, and self-loathing. It's not that you don't want to resist. It's that you were never given permission to admit one thing: you, too, desire power. This is society's quiet cruelty. It praises your restraint, while rewarding those who have none. And you are trapped in between, without the resources of the strong, and without the psychological permission to fight. So you keep reflecting, correcting, improving yourself, yet one question haunts you: why does my life get worse the more right I try to be? The answer is emerging, and it is unsettling, because it demands that you abandon the illusion that being liked will keep you safe. And once you see this, you can never return to the comfort of innocence. What comes next is no longer a moral dilemma. It is a survival dilemma. Not, should I do this, but, if I continue like this, what will I become? When a person suppresses strength, aggression, and boundaries for too long, the world does not become kinder. Cruelty simply relocates, into the self. This is the most hidden and dangerous phase, because from the outside, you seem fine. You haven't collapsed. You haven't turned destructive. You haven't become bad. You've simply begun to wither. You feel constantly exhausted without knowing why. You feel no real desire for anything, yet you're anxious about falling behind, failing, being left behind. You appear to be living, but you feel strangely removed from life itself. Jung called this state inner division. A compliant, rational, moral self faces off against an imprisoned, angry, power-hungry self inside your psyche. And here's the danger: the imprisoned self carries more energy. So it doesn't return as violence. It returns quietly, as procrastination, self-sabotage, addiction, avoidance, and relentless self-criticism. You are not lazy. On an unconscious level, you are destroying every opportunity that might make you stronger. Because strength would require betraying the old identity of being endlessly good and harmless. That's why you hesitate at critical moments. You step back when you should advance. You withdraw when you should claim. You blame yourself instead of acknowledging anger. You call it just who I am. But the truth is darker. This is your shadow reclaiming control. Nietzsche put it brutally: power that cannot express itself outwardly turns inward. That is exactly what is happening to you. You begin to despise yourself. Not because you've failed morally, but because your life instinct has been strangled by your own hands. What makes it worse is that society labels this maturity, self-control, being reasonable. Your pain has no name. Your anger has no outlet. Even your breakdown is disallowed. So you learn to smile, understand, forgive, while developing a quiet hostility toward yourself in the dark. This is the cost of the civilized personality. You did not become cruel to others, but you became cruel to yourself. And now you stand at a fork in the road. Continue denying power, and you will become safer, and emptier. Or you admit a dangerous truth for the first time: you don't only want acceptance from the world, you want to leave a mark on it. This is not corruption. This is life pushing back. You fear cruelty, not because it is evil, but because you were taught that power itself is dangerous. You were told, don't be too sharp, don't be too dominant, don't make others uncomfortable, be a good person. So you learn to soften your voice, dull your edges, hide your desires. Aggression, ambition, the urge to dominate, you labeled them as flaws to be eliminated. But Jung warned us long ago: instincts that are denied do not disappear, they mutate. The real issue isn't whether you have darkness. The real issue is whether you have power. Cruelty does not mean harming others. At its core, cruelty means refusing to betray your own life force. It means saying no when no is required, competing when something must be claimed, allowing yourself to be disliked when necessary. You've been doing the opposite. You chose to be understood instead of respected. You chose safety instead of boundaries. And the world learns something quickly: you can be crossed. You begin to see a brutal truth: the world does not become kinder because you are kinder. Instead, the less boundary you have, the more the world takes. Nietzsche called this the moral illusion of the weak. Not because you are virtuous, but because you lack the capacity to strike back, and must disguise powerlessness as goodness. True maturity is not eliminating aggression, but mastering it. A wolf is not evil. It simply knows where its territory begins and ends. What was taken from you was this clarity, of who you are, and where you stop. When you reclaim power, you will enter a dangerous phase. You will become harder to please, more direct, more composed, harder to manipulate. This is not corruption. This is opacity. Some relationships will dissolve. Some people will say you've changed. Some old identities will collapse. That is the price. Kindness without boundaries is slow self-destruction. The moment you allow yourself to be slightly cruel, not to the world, but to the version of you that survived by self-erasure, you begin to come back to life. Imagine reaching a moment you can no longer escape. Not the peak of success, but the point where self-deception finally collapses. You realize something unsettling: the world was never personally against you. It was simply indifferent. It doesn't reward effort. It doesn't protect kindness. And it never softens for loneliness. The logic of the world has always been clear: value decides everything. Yet you were taught the opposite. You were taught to be patient, understanding, considerate, and to wait. You were taught that approval must come before action. You were taught that belonging grants visibility. Machiavelli shattered that illusion long ago. He wasn't teaching cruelty. He was exposing a fact: the world is not a moral system, it is a power system. When you refuse to become ruthless, you are not choosing goodness. You are choosing to be consumed. If you don't decide, others will decide for you. If you don't seize control, fate will be assigned to you. This was never about laziness. It was about avoiding a truth too painful to face: no one will step aside for your dignity. True ruthlessness is not harming others. It is refusing to sacrifice yourself for their expectations. Nietzsche once said, in words often misunderstood, the strong are not cruel, they simply refuse to live by the morality of the weak. When this finally clicks, you see that your exhaustion, hesitation, and self-doubt all came from one mistake: trying to survive in a ruthless world using emotional permission. Awakening happens here. Not when you become cold, but when you stop asking the world for approval. You stop explaining why you want more. You stop proving you're worthy. You stop waiting for support, validation, or understanding. You act. You take responsibility. You stand for yourself. You realize, loneliness is not punishment. It's a filter. It removes those who need approval to move forward and leaves only those who can build strength in silence. That's why every person who changed the world was misunderstood long before they were admired. They weren't carried by support. They walked through indifference. And the final truth is simple: the world will try to break you, unless you become ruthless first. Not cruel. Not evil. Just unwilling to give yourself away ever again. That is where your life truly begins.